Go ahead.
All right, again, I am Angie Shelton. I am a regional account manager with Patriot Support Program of Universal Health Services. What a regional account manager is basically I serve as a liaison with the military treatment facilities on the active duty basis, as well as the VAs. I connect with the mental health in the VAs as well as the community care teams. A little difficult, challenging at times, as I'm sure you probably all know, but I do what I can to make sure I get them the information when it comes to the VA. So I am also a veteran. I retired last year from the Navy after 25 years of service. So I am very happy that I was able to take on this role because at the time I was not ready to retire. And as I have learned in being here, because I knew nothing about ward injury, I had never heard anything about ward injury. I think I have my own ward injury to deal with when it comes to my early retirement. But I think that I'm thankful for this opportunity because now I've learned a lot and I have gotten so many resources to add to my toolbox to be able to share when I go out and I talk to the active duty veterans. So thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for welcoming me, and thank you all for all the information. So and thank you to the veterans for your service.
You as well. You were right here.
Doesn't want to advance. Say that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so basically Universal Health Services was started in 1979 by an Army veteran who was also an executive chairman. And basically he started Universal Health Services to support our military, support our veterans, support behavioral health services across the board. Today we have over 300 TRICARE network facilities across the US. That's just under the UHS umbrella. Patriot Support Division is the division that I work for, is a program that was established about 10 years ago, and it's specifically for military and veterans. And we do have child and adolescent Patriot Support facilities, but they still go, they fall along with the general population children. Their treatment is just kind of taken more to their military experience. And with our Patriot Support Division, we have an advisory board, which is composed of senior officers of all the branches, including the National Guard, as well as the VA. And basically, they kind of guide us and let us know the things that we need to do as far as identifying and meeting the needs of the military and the veterans across the board. So that senior advisory board is very critical because I feel like when you have those admirals and generals who were in those previous roles, like surgeon generals and things like that, they are able to keep in contact and be able to interact with the leadership, the current leadership, to be able to understand what's going on with the service at that time. So I think that's awesome that we have that advisory board composed with those officers. This is our mission. We provide high quality effective treatment for active duty military, veterans, National Guard, reserves, and their families. Right. So these are the conditions that we treat. I'm not going to read every slide word for word, but these are the conditions that we pretty much treat. We have 2 facilities that are designated specifically for military sexual trauma. One of them is female only. So the 2 facilities are Salt Lake and Lincoln Trail, which is in Kentucky. So Salt Lake, of course, Utah. The Lincoln Trail facility has that MST program, and like I said, it's specifically for females only. So usually we get active duty there. We have had a few veterans in the facility over in Kentucky, but mainly what I've seen since I've been on board is mainly the active duty that go to those 2 facilities. We also have a eating disorder program. That facility is River Oaks, which is down in Arlington, Louisiana, and they have a specialized program for that, as well as a specialized program for compulsive disorder. So gambling, porn, all of those things, even gaming. So we get we get sailors that come there, I should say the service members that come there for gaming addiction.
Yeah.
So it is in that, I have never thought of that. You know, so it's very.
Many of ours.
So.
That's a huge-
Like I said, it blows my mind some of the things that I found out, you know, as I'm, you know, learning and going through my journey. So, but, so that facility, like I said, is down in Louisiana. We have, like I said, we address all of these conditions and all of these concerns. And our facilities are, tailored towards the military. With the Patriot support facilities, they are military centric. So they have a military only unit. And the only people that go on those units are active duty and the veterans. I recently found out on a trip to Colorado that one of our facilities out there will allow military spouses on there. That was a little different for me because I was told that the spouses, you know, still go into the general population. But I thought so. I was like, well, maybe that could be beneficial, especially since they're affiliated with the military. But generally, it's just for the service members and the veterans, and they are all in-house in that unit. The schedule is structured, so they still do physical training. I'm referring to the service members, the active duty side. The veterans can participate if they would like, but they don't have to. So they wake up, they do PT in the morning. Most of the facilities have a gym. They hire a personal trainer, and they keep that same structure so that we are returning them to their duty, you know, fully ready, you know, fit for duty. So, and then they go throughout their schedule, whether it's group counseling, individual counseling, or the different therapies that are offered at that facility. So the schedule is very structured on the military. Treatment modalities used, I'm sure a lot of you recognize that we have a few facilities. Not every facility has all of these therapies or use these modalities. In general, most use CPT, but we have facilities that do offer EMDR. We actually had one of our facilities, which has been a big push for us as one of our goals is to, you know, be more than just a treatment source. So we want to provide training. So we had a service member who went to one of our facilities, but the military treatment facility, mental health, they weren't qualified or trained to do EMDR. So we actually worked with that base and we got their providers trained. We had, you know, went through a lot of stuff to get them trained, but we got them trained so that the service member could continue on that EMDR treatment once he left our facility. So, so that was, I thought that was awesome that we did that. But you have some facilities that offer TMS, TV. We're making it a mandatory thing that equine therapy is offered at every facility that we have. We do, of course, exposure therapy, outings, art therapy, recreational therapy, yoga, you know, all those things we try to incorporate into their treatment.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Medication management to me means if they're not necessarily getting prescribed, if they've been prescribed elsewhere, then UHS provides the resources to be managed on this method.
So the medication management piece, basically they work hand in hand mainly with the active duty. So when it comes to the VA, I'm a little, you know, I don't have a lot of information when it comes to how that works for the VA side, but for the active duty side, they work a lot with the military treatment facility and coordinating and making sure that, you know, the meds that were prescribed by the base, or if we prescribe specific medications, and we make sure that they have enough to go back to their facility in case they don't have enough plans for 2 or 3 weeks later. So. All right, so these are our active duty and veteran Patriot support locations. I know there's a lot on that slide, but we have 20 locations across the US.
Where's the female?
So the female only is for the MST program. So you have Salt Lake, which has male and female military centric trauma. And then you have Lincoln Trail that has a female only military centric trauma program. And then River Oaks is also, That's the eating disorder, compulsive disorder, River Oaks. We have 5 of these facilities, Brentwood, Coastal, Gulfport, and Cedar Springs are our acute stabilization hospitals. So basically, they're just, stabilizing patients. That's all they're responsible for. All the rest of these have different programs.
So do you need a referral to get to one of these?
Yes, we need a referral to get to these facilities, and usually it's the TRICARE. Some of the facilities do accept Medicaid. I have helped some civilians with Medicaid or Blue Cross Blue Shield. Mainly the influx of our patients coming through TRICARE.
Who would we need to talk to try to figure out a way to be a force multiplier for this, right? So obviously, you know how it works with people getting into our jobs, right? And so something like this is more of a reasonable alternative for something like that. You got therapies that you just don't have. So how do we get our people who would normally go to the dom to have something as a stopgap, right? Because you know, all you have to do is be on for 60 days, you can come back. You go up to 100% if you have any disability whatsoever, and some people capitalize on that. They take 100%, they drink it away, they stamp it away, whatever. To have an alternative to doing that would be huge.
Oh, yeah.
Be a huge wait list.
It's a huge wait list when it comes to the children, but when it comes to the adults, usually if you call one of us, one of the Rams, we get them in right away.
Okay.
And I'll tell you so there have been certain facilities that have paid for the veterans to come. Because of, just they don't have that far to be able to travel. So there have been situations which, I know that's not, they shouldn't do that, but they have paid, they have to veterans to get to the facility to get treatment.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
And how long is the program? It's all dependent on the situation.
Absolutely,
Disorder is top notch,
yes.
world class.
That's hard to do.
It is, and when I first went to tour that facility and we staff there, it was just amazing to me. The things I learned, they talk a lot about eating disorder versus disordered eating, especially in the military, because we're trying to pass our PT test, so we're doing all these different things. Getting those body wraps, starting people taking laxatives, so they talk a lot about that. So it was very, I think it was very helpful and instrumental. And I actually try to get the dietitian that's on board there out to, especially during the PT times on the active duty basis, to kind of talk about that. To just to put that information out there. So I definitely think that's a very important program for sure. These are our child and adolescent facilities. We have 10 currently. And we don't just, I don't want to say we because this was around long before I retired and came aboard, but we don't just assign a facility to be a state support. There are core standards that they have to meet. They have to have the space to be able to allow for that military only unit when it comes to the patient support program. Their staff, the staff are personnel who are veterans or who are family members of active duty or veterans. They staff the military unit. And as a regional account manager, we have to give any new staff that comes on board to that military unit specific military culture training. We have to educate them on what the core standards are so that everybody's on the same page, because we don't want that the treatment or the quality of care to decline. So that is a requirement for any new staff that comes to the military unit. But so these are the 10 child and adolescent facilities. I personally have not toured all of them. I've been to Oak Ridge And I've been to Pinnacle Point, and was thoroughly impressed with Pinnacle Point in Arkansas. Great program. Laurel Ridge is awesome. I know a lot of people here have heard and know about Laurel Ridge. They have a whole campus dedicated to military care, as well as a great little simulation for PTSD treatment. It is just, if you could ever get a tour of that place, it's amazing. So, yes, that definitely seems to go. Absolutely. These facilities, we say specialized veteran services, but basically these are specifically our veteran patient support facilities. They have military milieus that mainly are just for the veterans. And they they usually work with the VA in their local area and tailor their programs and their care to the need that's there. So when we say specialized veteran services, that's basically what that is. But again, all of our patient support facilities take veterans. So, and what I really, what really impressed me about being in a military unit with specific active duty and veterans, like we talked about yesterday, I think it was, being around like-minded people. I was very impressed to see, I sat in on a group, this is right when I started, I sat in on a group and there were active duty veterans. And it was surprising to me how this young soldier talked about how him being here with this veteran who talked about his issues, his substance use, and how he was homeless really affected him and made him want to, one, stop doing what he was doing when it came to his own substance use, and two, stay in the military. So I thought that was very, that to me, I look at that as, very instrumental in helping somebody, keeping them from derailment.
But you're getting a sneak preview on what it could be like if I don't get them together.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, don't be like me, don't be like me, but, it was very powerful. Listening to him tell his story and how he ended up where he is, it blew my mind. So I really like the fact that you're in an environment where you're with people who understand, who know what you're experiencing, what you experience, and they can relate. So I always, when I found out about these military only units, I right over. And I often share with my, my brothers and sisters in arms who are still active duty, mainly in the Navy, that hey, you guys need to be aware, these programs are out there and they exist. So that's
Quick question. So if I'm active duty and I get referred to this, what is that? Is that inpatient treatment? Is that what that's considered? Or?
So we have inpatient, we have outpatient, PHP, IOP, yes. So,
But if I just disappear from my unit, it's because I've gone into an inpatient program. Yes. Okay.
yes. And so, we were talking about, the whole officer thing, that's a big common thing too, when we get referrals and I've only experienced it twice, where they do not want to go on to the unit with junior personnel. So we also have facilities that we push the officers to, if it's substance use or depending on what their concern is or the issue is. We push them to certain facilities because we try to keep the senior people in this particular area that they're not comfortable with that. We don't just throw it out there. If the nurse case manager says, hey, Angie, my guy doesn't want to go to that unit where it's going to be around a bunch of soldiers, he can potentially run into his soldier, and then we put that up. But it's not something that we just throw out there.
So would this fall under the Brandon Act, where they shouldn't be penalized for getting care?
So the Brandon Act is totally different. So the Brandon Act basically says that as a soldier, as a sailor, as an airman, I can self-refer for outpatient services. And I only have to let my supervisor know. I don't have to get approval. I don't have to go to mental health to wait for them to do a referral. But the problem is also too, which I was bringing to her attention, the military treatment facilities leadership, specifically in behavioral health and mental health, they're not really discussing it. They're not really acknowledging. So it's not going on. And I don't think a lot of people are utilizing that. You know, and they should. You know, they should be able to go and get the help that they need.
Right.
So it's definitely, you know, something that I always talk about. Like if I meet with the senior enlisted and non-enlisted officers, I make sure I talk about, hey, Brandon, and then they're like, oh, well, some people have heard of it, some people have not heard of it, but it's just not good.
You know, once your supervisor knows, I mean, they do have, I guess it's not completely confidential.
Right.
But it is less likely of a reporting tool than mental health is.
Right.
So the charting of notes is that where you start. We are a facility that we are talking like maybe we get on your list because we take TRICARE and all that stuff. But we chart our notes for active duty very differently. They're very scrubbed, very bland. It's more just he showed up, his affect was this, like we strip it of content because that follows the person. But once they're in, a diagnosis, a correct and actual diagnosis must be given, and that's going to be part of it. They can subpoena the chart. I mean, that's the thing with active duty. You don't own that chart. And we have to staff with man weekly or bi-weekly. I mean, it's just really kind of a thing. And that's just the way it is because somebody else, I don't know who we were talking about, getting a security clearance. Like there are things that you think, God dang, like, you know, people in this line of work, we know, like, I'm not sure this person should be going back to that, you know, battlefield or that tempo. It's a weird line. You want to save the person. What he does for a living is to be in the military.
Yeah.
Who that person is we say is more important, blah, blah, blah. My question was, I know that in your brochure, there is the one in Arizona that did not appear. Is it because you're showing the ones in your region or because you added it since your slide?
Which one?
There was the one that via Linda was not on there.
Oh.
And so is that because it's your region or?
No.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So I'm assuming your brochure is the
Yeah.
most up to date.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, it is definitely, it's also one of our.
Yeah, and it's like, I could walk there. Like, I could live.
I mean, it's looking at your staff.
Right?
Yeah, I can see that, okay.
Sorry. So how does HIPAA factor into that? Like yesterday, Crystal told us that her file from her inpatient treatment got circulated around. Anyway, from her. How does that happen?
So I'll tell you this, so our providers, whether it's some of the facilities have a military liaison embedded in their program. I also have served as a military liaison for some of the facilities who do not. So that's my job, to teach them, hey, what information goes to who, and who, because initially, and I'll be completely honest with you, when I first started this, I had my first service member, and the facility was trying to tell the command, and I said, no, they do not ever need to know. You only communicate with the treatment facility, the provider.
Yeah.
So that is the only communication that goes back and forth. The only thing that we tell the command is your service members here, that's it.
You can't tell them what about.
You can't tell them what about, I can't tell them anything. If that military treatment facility tells me, hey, their command has to pick them up, I call them back to say, hey, your service member is being discharged this day, this time, you need everybody to pick up. That's the only information they're given. So how that happens, that completely goes.
So that was a while ago too, for a moment. But security clearance and the referral will sometimes come embedded with, and we will staff this person. Because there are jobs within the middle. And anyway, it's not for this moment because it's sometimes it's bigger. That's how, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah.
And our providers, we work collaboratively on their care with the referring physician. So it's once a week, you know, they provide a brief, but they're constantly in communication so that if our provider says, hey, we want to prescribe this, we want to make sure that's not going to hinder him or cause him any issues that could affect his career, could possibly end up being put up for med water or discharge or anything like that. So we work very closely with it when it comes to the active duty with the PTS. These are our numbers for 2023. So TRICARE, we serve 13,000 service members and family members, which equated to 284,000 patient days. We serve 5,900 veterans, which equated to 55,000 patient care days. I would say we have a pretty good patient satisfaction rate. So we definitely listen to our patients. We definitely listen to our the VAs. We definitely listen to the MTFs, you know, to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to meet their needs. And that's a huge thing for me. Coming into this, like I said, you know, I just wanted to continue to serve. So for me, making sure that we're providing quality, I'll get on my soapbox here for a little bit, but I told my supervisor, say, hey, you know, I just retired and I'm not sure that I'm ready to go back to work. But once he explained to me, you know, what was involved, and his goal was in alignment with my goal, which was to continue to care for our service members, their families, and the veterans. I said, listen, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not selling anything to anybody. I want to help veterans get the best care that they can, no matter what it is. So for me, that means if it's not refer them to a patient support facility, it could be refer them to a vet center. It could be referring them to any of these new resources that I have, because not every service member or veteran wants to go that route. Case in point, I had a colonel. I was at a health fair for an Air Force base, and the colonel's wife approached me, and she said, my husband needs help, but he will not get help. And I said, well, where is he? And she said, I told him to come over and talk to you. If he doesn't come and talk to you, I'm going to bring him over. And I waited. He never came. And right before we were getting ready to wrap up the whole fair, she brought him over. And so I talked to him for a little bit. He was very vague. He didn't really want to share, of course. And in that environment, of course, in that space, I wouldn't expect him to. But he was just like, oh, okay. He took my card and, you know, he took the book with it. And I said, well, I hope I can help. So then 4 weeks later, she called me. She said, have you heard from my husband? And 2 days later, I heard from him.
This is somebody with an old paper there.
She was determined. So he called, and you know, just listening, hearing his story, he definitely needed help. He was having some serious issues that were affecting his family life, his home life, as well as his work life. So, you know, just listening to him, and offering a little bit of advice just from my, you know, experience on active duty. I was like, this morning, I was like, wow, I was providing peer support. Yeah, so I told him, I said, well, I don't want to pressure you into anything. You know, I said, you tell me what you want to start. He did not want to go to the medical aid station on the base. He was not ready to go that route where it was documented. So I said, well, I have other resources for you to start with. You let me know, let's go at your pace. But if you just need to call me and talk to me, I'm okay with that. We hung up. He called me it was probably about 2 or 3 weeks later. We talked again. And he said, well, maybe I'll try, because I had given him some options as to, you know, some nonprofits. And I even told him, I said, hey, you have a vet center right there. You know, active duty can go there and get counseling. It's not documented. It doesn't go back to your medical aid station. And basically he said, you know, okay. So when he called me back 3 weeks later, he actually told me that he was going to go to the vet center. And I was thankful that he was doing something to get help. And so I try not to bother him, but I do periodically check in and say, hey, how's it going? How you doing? And he's doing well to this day. And this was last year, September. So to this day, I still will text him, which he's okay with, his spouse is aware, because I made sure that it was okay if I, follow up to check with him. He has not gone the inpatient route, which he needs to, but he continues to, go and get counseling. So I always
Foot in the door.
There you go.
Right, absolutely. I like to tell this because it's baby steps for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're ready to share when you're ready to share. You were saying that when you're committed to getting the treatment that you need, you will do that. But, everybody's not ready to just walk in there and say that. So,
There's so many layers that create that feeling that we shouldn't get help.
yes.
And we just gotta allow that, those layers to slowly be let.
It's really a conditioning of,
Mhm.
I know, especially in my culture, where they tell you that going to get help is like, that's what other people do, we don't do that, And so it's kind of looked frowned upon to go and get help. But I find that me and my daughter's relationship has grown leaps and bounds after I allowed myself to be open.
Yeah, it's a lot of stigma.
It was
We all need
my
it.
family.
So that was another reason to be there to the train station. So it's just like, I understand.
He was probably that manifestation community spot.
Probably. I won't go, talk about this too much. These are just some feedback from some of our patients that has gone to some of our facilities. So, just going around, I think we do a really good job of ensuring that our patients take care of it. They let us know. All right, so this is just a overview of all of our facilities. The blue stars are our centers of excellence, which are basically our patient support facilities. We call them centers of excellence because they're for our military. So there's no special reason that we call them the centers of excellence other than that. These are our patient support program facilities. The red stars are our acute stabilization programs, and then the gold stars are our child and adolescent support. Just looking at it, from the map standpoint. So, and as you can see, we have one up here in Alaska.
And all of your acute stabilization is all west, or I'm sorry, east, that's interesting, I'm gonna get you out there.
Yeah.
Seriously, yes.
And some of the other facilities do.
Within, that's true,
Right.
that's actually true.
But it's just that those were designated.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because even, I always say, we need more patient support, so, because especially now that I'm taking over the Midwest area. I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to buy this to go, but there are other UHS facilities that are on.
Yeah.
So may I ask about the child one? Do they support kids that are suicidal?
Yes. Yes, and
Because that's one thing that I didn't mention with the ACE briefing is that bullying is on the rise with kids, and so that's verbal abuse. And they hear it all the time, and so that really creates a mental health crisis for kids.
So, yeah, so in the systematic review, we didn't look at peer to peer, we wanted to focus on adult to child. But it's very much recognized and, like I said, it's forthcoming, but that's going to be included as part of that, right?
But, okay, and then to connect the dots, so the child, do all the facilities or
certain ones.
certain ones?
Certain ones, just like we have certain ones that offer programs for autism. So I'm sure.
Really?
Yes, so there's I just threw this slide in today because I wanted you to see, so like I said, I'm a regional account manager, so there's 8 of us. And we are divided by regions, but what we typically tell people is, hey, if you live in Arizona and you call Angie, just because Angie has this Midwest reason, she's not gonna help you. She's gonna either get you to the right person or she's gonna, get whatever information that you need. So pretty much, like I said, the colors, our names are with the colors for our particular region, and you can contact any of us, and we will get you connected. So you all have my card, so you can, if you have a question, you need help, you need to find something, you can always reach out to me and I'll give you the contact for that particular reason. So that's how we're doing.
Are you the only female?
There's two.
Okay.
So there's Angie is, and she's Angie B.
Okay.
Angie B.
Where do you work?
I live in North Carolina. So this used to be my region. I had Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, and Tennessee. And like I said, about 2 weeks ago, we got a new VP and she wanted to switch things up based off of the new TRICARE map, the new T5 map. So she wanted to change everything and create an East-West Coast division. So this is what she came up with. So we'll see how I run the code.
Yeah. Your facility stand out of yourself.
All right, and this is just a list of our TRICARE network facilities all across the U.S. So I know that's kind of small. It's actually in the booklet here. We pick up one, as well as an not explanation, but information on each Patriot support facility and the services that they offer. That's what you're going to get in this booklet. But yeah, we have, like I said, overview. And this is mixed with adult and child, UHS facilities.
And we're very fortunate to have you sponsor and be able to really share with, because this is a big deal.
Yeah.
You guys are a big deal.
A lot of people don't know about, Patriot support programs. And that's why I make it my business to get out. I visit the DSOs. I go to the VFWs when they have bingo night. And they have a moment, of course, I'll talk to them, but I show up at, the bingo night to make sure that they get the information, especially educating them on the Compact Act. I know you've all heard of the Compact Act, right? So with the suicide rate, yes, it was going down, now it's going back up in veterans. So I always make sure I put out there about the Compact Act. There's free help. That's free help when you need it. You can walk into any ER. You don't have to be VA connected. You just walk in. You're in a suicidal crisis. You mentioned that Compact Act. That's free care. That's 30 days of inpatient that's paid for by the VA. That's 90 days of outpatient services paid. So I always make sure, and I go to the ER. I actually went to the VA website. I made a little printout. Wow. I didn't put Patriot support on it, but I started, when I was in, like I said, that southern region, I would go to the ERs, the local hospitals, and say, hey, just want to, for Patriot support, but I just want to educate you because I know you have a lot of veterans in the area. Here is a tool that can help them. If they're in suicidal crisis, usually they'll start asking questions, so I make sure that they understand what the verbiage says. But I say, here's the handout, it has everything you need. I give them a card and say, if you have any questions, by all means, I can answer as much as I can, but you can also contact the VA. But that stuff is key.
If you and Jamie are gonna start going on Sango's recording.
Hey, let us go.
Well, I did notice, there's nothing in Nebraska, nothing in Kansas. And there's 2 military installations in Kansas. There's off the Air Force Base and the Joint Force Headquarters in Nebraska. So if you need help, you can come stay with me and go talk to people.
So I have, I think it's November, I have a meeting in August. So the other Angie, that was her A1, her previous A1. So she has kind of, been their point of contact. So she and I are going to go together to do that turnover. But I'm hoping we get a little bit of business from them now, but not whole. And I think it's Fort Leavenworth up there.
Fort Leavenworth in near Kansas City.
Okay.
Which you have Missouri, but it's Kansas City, Kansas, and then Fort Riley.
So
it's huge.
Yeah. So I definitely plan to do whatever I can.
Yeah.
So I do know that I brought this up before, but do you know the policy about suicidal about the weapons? Do you know what your treatment facilities policies are about reporting and all of that?
As far as reporting if they have weapons?
Well, I mean, you're not allowed to bring weapons into a facility like that, but are you automatically going to, does your facility then report it to, do they have laws where they have to report it, like, and then these weapons get taken?
Yes.
They do?
They will,
Okay.
they will report it back to the military treatment facility.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, when it comes to the military, they report it back to them. After that, you know, it's up to the next attorney.
Okay, but if they're veterans, then they would report it through the VA or something? Okay. We need to get that law changed.
I know that's a huge thing when we're on active duty. They take, you know, they want to take the weapons and lock them up somewhere else.
Mhm.
We have to do it.
Temporary is fine, right?
Just
Temporary is
right.
fine. It's the permanent, right, the people are worried about the permanent.
Yeah, this is, takes them, they will, help them assist them in getting the locks first, the gun locks first, making sure that they're safe. And then they will ask them to take them to a place to where they can be locked. When we get a person in mental health crisis, that's one of the questions. We said, do you own firearms? And if you do, are you willing? Because especially if they're in a crisis,
Right.
are you willing to not have them or give them to a family member or hold them?
Okay, so that's temporary, it's not
Temporary,
like.
I think if you, in the state of Arizona, I don't know if it's national, but if you are involuntarily sent to a residential treatment or an inpatient, you will then have your weapons taken. If you are involuntary, so oftentimes when I'm really wanting, I know, and I'm like, I want you to voluntarily go because you change everything if you don't. And I'm telling you, you need to go. If you don't, like, it's one of those moments where like, fine, because then we can work to get that secured and blah, 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 but usually this is a crisis. Crises are like injuries, this is not a permanent condition, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get them to return back to their state of equilibrium, but the point is, if you're involuntarily, I think if you have domestic violence charges against you, you also have your weapons taken. So you were there.
Yeah.
But involuntary, it's a good threat, so everybody, I use it. Listen.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so just a little additional info. So like I said, we want to be more than just, hey, we're providing care. We want to be able to get out there and do trainings. So we're working to implement and come up with additional trainings that we can provide for all, whether it's the military treatment facility, providers, whatever the case may be. We actually, Laurel Ridge has a program where they provide training for all victim advocates in their area in the state. So that's one initiative that, you know, we think is that's, you know, a great initiative for the victim advocates. They're working to try to get it US wide, where victim advocates have to go through their particular training down at Laurel Ridge. We're working on implementing a national hotline. So for the most part, when it comes to the military treatment facilities, as well as the VAs, once they have their facility that they prefer to go to, they usually have that contact but you know, a lot of times we'll get calls. So instead of us getting a call, they'll go to they'll call that national hotline, which I like and I don't like. I don't know, feel like just having that personal interaction, knowing that, you know, somebody's going to follow up with you. Because that's one thing for me, I feel like it's key is to follow up, you have to follow up, yeah. So even for our child and adolescent facilities, we have a person who's designated as the point of contact. So if we get a call, we're supposed to call her, and then she reaches out. But that just, I don't know, maybe it's just me. After I give it to her, I call back. I give it a couple of days and then I call back because I don't want the ball to be dropped, and I don't want to make sure that whoever that person is getting with them.
That's rare, I'll tell you, so thank you.
Yeah, really good.
That's really good.
I don't know, it's something in me that I just
Yeah,
cannot.
that's awesome.
You know,
That sounds like.
And I don't do it like for any type of, I just do it because I care, and I don't want situations to happen where they say, oh, well, I was passing along to this person just gave me. It wasn't able to get anybody on the phone, because I get that a lot. I called this facility and I couldn't get anybody on the phone.
Yes.
I'm on it. So I'm very big, like I have to follow.
Yeah.
We're looking at opening outpatient clinics as well as some telehealth services, so, then that's a huge thing for the active duty. They, just like the civilian side, they're, losing providers and, so we're looking at doing that, for that as well, so. These are just some things that, are upcoming for UHS, for Patriot support. Are there any questions?
Oh, you're a badass.
Oh.
Just comments.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're. Again, before I close out, like I said, thank you all for all the information. I really, really, really appreciate the resources because like I said, like, it is so important for me to be able to walk into whether it's a treatment facility, whether it's a vet center, whether it's a VW, wherever, even if I'm having a conversation with a vet one-off, and being able to allow, being able to say, okay, well, here's some more resources for you. Here's some places that you can call and get some help, whether it's free or not. I love that I can provide that for them. And I don't just get calls from the military and veterans. I've got calls from spouses who were prior, were previously married to military members, but they weren't anymore and they needed help.
Yes.
With their child. I've got calls from providers at civilian facilities that have asked for assistance. So my phone is always on because like I said, that's what I care about. That's what I'm passionate about. That's why I went into the medical field in the Navy. I just want to take care of it. So it means a lot that you all are able to share the resources with me. And like I said, learning about more injury, I'm definitely going to take it back to my VP, like I said, and I'm going to see what we can do to provide some training because I have not heard that at any of our patient support facilities. And I think that that's something that we need to discuss. So again, thank you. I appreciate it. And lots of good information I can take.